If you love a good thrift flip, then you won't want to miss this video. Now, before we get started today, I just wanted to take a quick moment to thank another one of my supporters, Miss Erica Aponte, for buying me several cups of coffee. I honestly can't thank you enough for the support. I appreciate it so much. This continues to help me bring new content to you each week. Now, today's DIY started with an item that I purchased for an amazing deal at my local thrift store. $1. It was honestly a steal and I just couldn't pass it up. I also used some items that I had purchased on clearance from Big Lots and from Joann's in the past. That was just what I needed to bring this whole look together. So without any further ado, let's get started. To begin this project, I started with a wood frame that I purchased from one of my favorite little local thrift stores for just $1. I also used my Waverly chalk paint in the color ink, which I plan to use to paint the wood frame. But before I could paint it, I needed to remove these little bendable metal flaps that held the glass and backing in place. Thankfully, they were pretty easy to remove, so it didn't take long at all. Since I didn't plan on placing the glass or the backing back, I didn't want them to show in the final project. This chalk paint has really great coverage, so I only needed to give it one coat. I'm actually considering doing a side-by-side comparison of different chalk paints and would love it if you could comment below with any that you'd like to see compared. I've worked with different ones like the Bayer chalk paint, Waverly, and the folk art, but I'm always curious to see what else is out there. Once I finished painting the frame, I put it aside and pulled out this cute little Christmas wood decor piece that I picked up on clearance last December, I think from Joann's. It was slightly damaged, missing what I think was a tree, and I also later found out that the light didn't work either, but it was still a great clearance deal and I knew that I could make something with it. I removed the missing tree with my craft blade and then painted the bottom portion with the same ink color as the frame. I also painted the rooftops of the little home. Next, I used a combination of green colors to paint the trees. As always, I've also listed items I use in the description box below, so be sure to take a look at that if you're looking for something specific from this video, or just leave a comment below with what you're looking for and I'll be happy to help. I ended up layering the different colors, including a little of the ink, to give the trees a more three-dimensional look and different pops of color. Next, I used the color Imperial by Folk Art and mixed it with the color Ink by Waverly to make up a new color that I was going to use on the little house. The color ended up darker than what I wanted it to be, but I went along with it just to see how it would turn out in the end. Since it did dry darker, I also dry brushed the color Imperial alone to add a greater hint of red to the piece. I then decided to paint the door with the color Fresh Earth by Artminds, and I used the color Antique Gold to create a glowy effect in the windows, but then I felt like it actually made it look like fire was coming out of the windows, so I painted them back because that definitely wasn't the look I was going for. Next, against my better judgment, I did use my craft stick to add a little of the glimmery Dollar Tree fake snow to the rooftops and trees. I recommend using Mod Podge or something other than the craft stick because this isn't the ideal surface to use it on, and it did make it a little messy and uncomfortable to work with. I also ended up repainting the door in the antique gold for a bigger pop of color. Using my Ryobi hot glue gun, I also added some filler from an old pillow I had and was no longer using to fill in the gap in the middle and also to make it look like a puffy snow around the house and trees, really giving it more texture and softening the piece as well. Unfortunately, I didn't realize my phone ran out of battery, but I did glue this piece to the inside of the frame, and I also added some of the filler around the inside of the frame to come up with this whole new piece. I really loved how cute this turned out. What do you think? For this next DIY, I started with this decor piece that I found in the clearance section of Big Lots. It was scratched up and the jute twine was coming off because a staple had fallen loose, but I knew I could give it an easy facelift. I started by removing the jute twine and the staples. Then I used my printer and regular copy paper to print a background design that I found on designbundles.com. And to cut out the piece I needed, all I did was place the paper on top of the area that I wanted to cut out, holding it in place with my little sewing pattern weights, and then I used my finger to make a crease along the opening. Once I mapped out the entire shape, I simply folded the paper again in the opposite direction on all sides and then gently ripped the excess paper away. Then I used my craft stick to hold the paper background in place, and once that was complete, I used the Imperial and ink color mixture to paint the black portion of this piece. I couldn't remove the little buttons along the ends, so I painted over them in this step and went back over them after. I honestly don't know why I can't remember the name of these little things, but if you know what they're called, please comment below. I feel like it's on the tip of my tongue, but maybe it'll come to me a little bit later. I used the antique gold to go over the little buttons on the ends because I like that they added a little of an accent to the overall piece. Then I went back with just the color Imperial to brighten the piece some by just dry brushing it over the top. I also used a piece of the jute twine that originally came with this decor piece and used it to outline the little house shape in the middle because I felt like it added a more rustic look, which I absolutely love. I think this piece turned out really great, and I also think it goes really well with the first DIY. Would you have done anything different? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below.
For more Christmas decor DIY inspiration, check out this playlist right over here. I'm Ellie Lee with Ellie Lee Designs, and until the next one, bye!